People who had COVID-19 or know someone who did. How bad was it? Dad got infected after going in and out of the hospital for his 4th brain surgery because the doctors keep messing up. After testing positive, the hospital sent him home, so he infected Mom also. After passing, for some reason, they sent his body home. But nobody can touch it because of the possibility of getting infected. After Dad's passing, Mom went to the hospital to get tested. She already knew, she just wanted treatment but was sent home. She collapsed while walking to her car. They admitted her but only gave her the 4th, told her she was positive, then sent her home again. It's been rough. My mom had COVID. Started as a fever, then quickly worsened. Within days, she was in the hospital on oxygen. Seriously thought she was going to die. My dad has COVID. He has 0 symptoms and probably had it for days before the results. My dad is diabetic with kidney failure and multiple other health issues. Why my mother, who's mostly healthy, reacted so bodily compared to my dad is uttering bewildering. My uncle died from it. He died at his house while in self-quarantine. Didn't know he died until after he didn't call or answer his phone after 2 days. 30-year-old friend had it. He was so sick that his roommates were almost afraid to check on him in his room because they thought they'd find him dead. Getting out of bed to go to the bathroom took all of his strength. He's fine now, but it took a few weeks for his lungs to feel even remotely normal. My mother-in-law had something like this in January, before it was a thing, but we swear she had it. She would call us for help, and me or my wife would go over. We lived 5 minutes away and help her get something. She said she was out of breath walking to her bathroom, and then out of breath walking back after using it. It was wild. We all want to get antibody tests as soon as they're available. My grandmother got it in her late 80s and in a nursing home. She probably weighs 70 pounds and can barely sit up on the best of days. She had a fever for a week and a mild cough, then recovered. We're shocked. She's so weak that when the home told us she had it, we all thought she had no chance of beating it. Weird how it can kill strong, healthy people, but somehow spare her. 3 friends, 2 of which had families. 1 was living alone, so they all decided to live with each at the alone guy's house so their families didn't have to suffer the illness, and if one of them got badly sick, the less sick guys could take care of him. They got a bad fever and a dry cough, and one of them lost his sense of taste for a little while afterwards, but they came out of it fine otherwise. Edit. Have families, not had. My friend was tested positive. He is quarantined at home with a little fever, muscle pain and a light cough. He is getting better every day, it seems. I'm 32 and it was the sickest I have ever been. 2 weeks of fever over 101, bad cough that lasted almost a month, shortness of breath where if I walked more than a few steps I would end up doubled over gasping for air. It was pretty bad, but at least I'm all better now. All the edits. Damn, that blew up in the few hours I was asleep. Thank you to everyone for everything. My general condition before this was good. No underlying conditions. I was in really good shape. In the gym mostly every day. Yeah, it really sucked. I was never really in fear though, because I caught it early enough that it wasn't really hyped that much. I think it was March 3rd that I went to the hospital. I work as an Uber driver on the weekends, so I'm guessing that's how I caught it. I was on an inhaler for a while afterwards. I tried working out about 3 weeks after I initially got sick. That was a joke. I literally ended up on my back wheezing and hacking 2 minutes into the workout. I am pretty much fully recovered now. The only effects I'm still feeling are just from taking so much time off from working out. I think that's the gist of most of the questions. If you have a burning one that I didn't answer, I'm sorry. Feel free to ask me again. One more super important edit. Everything I have seen and read about this is that it affects everyone differently. Please don't read what I did and think that it's great advice or anything like that. I would hate for someone to get worse because they listened to my dumb ass on Reddit. Please listen to your doctor. Just heard this morning that a friend of mine died last night. Her partner called 911 when she took a turn for the worse, and in the time it took the EMTs to get there, she'd already passed. It was that quick. She'd been tested, knew she was positive. She was told to stay at home unless her symptoms got worse. She felt sick, but not rushed to the hospital sick. Until last night. I'm trying to comfort myself knowing she'd rather die in her own bed than in a hospital surrounded by strangers. My friend is in Italy. He got it, and was sick bedridden for a week while his girlfriend had just some aches. Both his parents, his grandparents and his uncle died, all within a week. Edit. To lessen the horror I will add that his aunt had it too, but recovered. Sorry, it's a rough one for a Monday. Currently in the hospital with is in my early 20s. I rode it out for a week until I could breathe. Sickest I've ever been and never had to hospitalize before now. Going home tomorrow though, so that's good. I'm recovering now. I'm currently recovering. I'm a 30-year-old male with no health issues, so maybe that's the reason, but for me it was like a mild cold. Felt crummy from Tuesday night to Thursday. Started feeling better Friday. Now I just have a bit of a cough and weird headaches. The testing process was a pain though. First one was inconclusive, so I had to get a DRS note and go get another test. I had it. I was basically bedridden for 2 weeks, barely doing anything except sleeping. Even then, I kept waking up at night a sweaty mess. I spread it to all my family members, but they showed extremely minor symptoms. Pretty weird stuff. ICU nurse checking in. I just got cleared to go back to work tomorrow after testing positive a couple weeks ago. How bad was it compared to the COVID patients I've treated? Nothing. I didn't even have a fever or shortness of breath. Our ICU patients are so sick. All the things you've heard about on the news. Hypoxia, blood clots, multi-system organ failure. We've had many people in their 30s and 40s with no pre-existing conditions who've ended up just as sick as the 80-year-olds. And many of them haven't had good outcomes, sadly. I work at a major hospital where we routinely get the sickest patients transferred to us from smaller hospitals, so I realize I'm seeing the extreme opposite end of the spectrum, but it is scary. My symptoms were all so minor and non-specific that I blew them off or chalked them up to other things: spring allergies, dry hospital air, sleeping poorly on my shitty mattress, working overtime for several days until I realized I'd completely, profoundly lost my sense of smell and taste. That's when I knew I had to get tested. Lo and behold, it was positive. It sucked, but I'm very grateful I wasn't any sicker than I was, and especially that I have health insurance and work at a place that paid for my COVID-specific sick leave as well as having paid sick leave in general. I know there are so many other people out there who don't have such a safety net, and it seems very unfair. My sister, who was 47 with no underlying health issues, passed away from COVID-19. It took 10 days. She was in the hospital for the last 3. The scary part is she was making a recovery. Her lungs at day 7 were operating at 83%, and after 2 days in the hospital, she had got them to 95%. In 29 hours, it was a complete 180. I was able to text with her, She kept saying she was having a really tough time but didn't go into much detail. My brother-in-law and 2 nephews also had it. He mistakenly thought his COVID was just from a good gym workout, as his body was just really sore. My nephew, age 13, puked one night and had a fever for a few hours. The youngest, age 7, never had any symptoms and felt fine. All tested positive. My trainer at the gym had it. She is an ordinarily healthy woman in her 40s and very fit. She had high fever, it was hard to breathe, exhaustion and brutal muscle aches. She found it hard to walk across her bedroom. She lost her sense of smell also. Suspected neurological symptoms too, memory problems and trouble finding words. 3 weeks after her quarantine ended, she still feels like sh*t. She is out of breath very easily. I saw her loading groceries into her car and it was hard for her. She is still having memory problems. She recovered at home. No hospital. This is the first in the thread that sounds like my experience. Mid-40s. Day 1 felt like a cold. Day 2, raging headache. Day 3, raging headache and loss of smell and taste. They came back slowly and dulled, just in time for breathing to get difficult. Just laying down felt like I couldn't get a full breath. Still with a headache. So, worst hangover ever with a side of asthma. Oh, and lingering neuro issues. Aphasia and poor memory and can't concentrate. At the end of week 2 I tried to have a call with my client. During the call, they texted my boss to say I wasn't ready to work yet. And I'm constantly out of breath. And if I breathe too deep my lungs will catch and just exhale rapidly. Which makes me more out of breath and want to take a deep breath, and it just happens in a loop until I'm exhausted. And this is a month after I was cleared by my local Department of Health. Never had a fever higher than 99, and only for one night. For a full month after this shit started you couldn't even get a test if you didn't have a fever and a few other symptoms. So frustrating. My mom went for minor tickling throat to been taken away in an ambulance by people in hazmat 3 days later, unable to breathe. 2 weeks later she died. No major health issues. She was sedated as soon as she went into hospital and on a ventilator for the duration. Eventually her organs started failing and there was nothing else they could do other than turn the ventilator off and let her go.